Welcome to the Author to Authority podcast. And if you have ever wondered why y- your customers are going to your competitor instead of you, then you want to make sure that you tune in to today's episode. I am so happy to have Jeff Brown here with us today. He's got a lot of years of experience in marketing. He was one of the people that saw the death of MySpace, the beginning of Facebook. He has seen all the iterations since then, and he has a wealth of knowledge about why people choose you and why they don't. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So, Jeff, I'm just going to ask you the obvious question right out. Obviously, we're going to dive deep into this, but why are our audience's competitors winning out over them?
It's a bummer we don't have more time. I wish we still had 24 hours to dig into this. I mean, there's a plethora of reasons, and it really varies individual to individual. But I'd say the number one thing that I see that happens most frequently is that they are not appealing to where everybody's attention is currently sitting. Everybody's watching in a certain area of the world. 60 years ago, it was radio. 20 years ago, it was television. Now it's social media. Most of the time, people are just ignoring the attention.
True. True. I like it. I like it. Well, let's dive a little bit deeper into that. So when you say that they're not being where people's attention are, you want to clarify that just a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah, it's things like marketing and attention. They're constantly evolving art, and when it is treated as a secondary, like, and I'll get to it when I get to it, or I really need to go do this to go get customers first. You know, a lot of different reasons that keep people from looking around and seeing what exactly is appealing, what exactly is working right now, and dive in. And I'll tell you, I had a client a couple years ago, ended up working with this person for almost 3 years. And they said, I hired somebody and they ran Google ads and they did this very specific thing. And I was just making business hand over fist. I was like, that's fantastic. Good for you. I'm really excited for you. And I'm just listening to him talk about it. I said, hang on, let me stop you. When this was about 2011, wasn't it, when this was happening? And he kind of thought, he was like, yeah, I think it was. I was like, bro, that was 12 years ago. Like, the game has completely changed. I want to be able to do that for you, but I cannot replicate that formula to 12 years ago in history and still get the same results. And unfortunately, we went back and forth for 2 years about that very, very similar topic. And it just never really
Well,
sunk in.
the Google slap did happen and that happened since then.
Yeah. Rising and falling of empires. The state of Texas was a country for just about as long a time. So the world changes in those kinds of scenes, and you have to constantly be adjusting. The message that I'm sending out to people now, when I'm sending out content or doing, creating videos, like, I want to help the average guy. 6 months ago was a completely different message than it is now. I found videos that I posted a year ago, and that content is null and void, which sounds overwhelming, but that's the part that's missing, is that you have to be adaptive. You have to be able to move. Maybe I need to stop doing email for a little while and do a little bit more TikTok. You don't have to dance in order to do TikTok videos. But it has to be adaptive.
True. It's funny because as an entrepreneur, it's hard because, first of all, you don't even know where the trends are sometimes.
Yeah.
Or you're listening to people who are not up to date, who present themselves as all knowing, and yet, they're behind the times as well. So, I guess one of the big questions would be, how do you determine, like, how do you even know where to start?
Practice makes perfect. That's the fun front part that I usually try to preface with, is that the more you do this, the more you're going to be able to see genuine, authentic reality versus just somebody piping a game to get you to drop your credit card number. The second thing is that it's a leap of faith in a certain degree, in a lot of levels, and credibility, which again comes with the longevity. If you find someone that's long time tried and true, you find someone who's been doing this for a long time, and they're not just chirping somebody else's article about this is what Meta is doing that's going to create the beginning of their downfall or whatever. You can hate Facebook all you want, but I mean, I signed up with Facebook in year one. I think I exchanged emails with Mark Zuckerberg at one point, but I'm not positive. But I watched Facebook go public from university only and watched the evolution of the business suite. And there are other people that have been in this game for a long time, and they have that credibility that they can speak genuinely to it, as opposed to dude who's just regurgitating information. So the first thing, and I use this metaphor a lot, is that if you never go to the gym and you want to lose weight, the first thing I want you to do is not start studying techniques of workouts and all of these things. Just start going to the gym. The fact that you show up means it's going to happen. Even in small scales, you can worry about your fine craft, your fine tuning techniques. The same thing if you want to publish a book, just start writing. You cannot do anything else if you don't start doing that. And it's the same thing with marketing. Just start posting content, just start sending emails, just start coding if you really want to build a website. Whatever it is, you can segue into any level of professionalism. But if you don't start doing the absolute basic fundamental, you're not going to accomplish anything at all.
True. Very, very, very true. I liked how you said that, because sometimes the first step is the hardest. And
Mhm.
once you get over that first hurdle, that first, few sentences you write, or the first few push-ups, the first few laps in the pool, the first few whatever, it starts to feel a little bit more comfortable, and then you can go in and refine. And one of the things is, especially as a publisher, is sometimes I encourage people who have never written before, don't try to write the book.
Hmm.
Start with blog posts,
Yeah.
750 word blog posts. Learn how
Or
to
less.
structure a really good blog post.
Yeah.
Then you learn how to structure a really good long form blog post.
Yep.
By the time you're structuring a really good long form blog post, you're almost ready to write a chapter.
I it's brilliant. I mean, it's beautiful. Like, I absolutely love that methodology, because first off, if you tear it down into the smallest possible chunks that you can, it becomes chewable. Like, you can actually eat it
Yeah.
at that point. And yeah, if you do what you know, or if you do something that's really easy, even if it feels insignificant, like the first time you do it, you're like, I didn't actually accomplish anything. But a couple of things that happen later is that first off, is you look back at it and you're like, okay, first off, this isn't as terrible as I thought it was. It didn't cut me in the heart. I survived. So maybe it was all right. And then the second thing that you notice is that I'm actually better at this than I thought I was. And that practice makes perfect. If you're video editing, if you're writing, even if just typing, just staring at a screen, you find different things that you just learn how to do better. I agree entirely. The smallest bite-sized piece is possible. It makes everything else. It makes all the big projects doable.
Yeah. Here's the thing is that consistency is a key factor, because in most cases, in entrepreneurship, in marketing, in sales, like all of these types of things, you've got to put in the time, you've got to put in the effort, you've got to pay the cost, you've got to do it consistently for a period of time before you hit momentum, before you see the growth that you want. A lot of times um, you're putting in a lot of time, a lot of effort, and you're not seeing a lot of results. But what you don't realize is that it's little piece on little piece on little piece on little piece on little piece, until you kind of hit that point where all of a sudden everything changes. In less than 24 hours, I'm going to be on a plane. And one of the analogies that I love is the fact that most of the fuel in the plane is used up getting it up into the sky.
Hmm.
Once it's up in the sky, it uses very little fuel in comparison to how much it took to get the airplane up there.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing a lot of times with, entrepreneurship, with your marketing, with your sales and all that. You're going to be doing stuff, you're going to moving the needle a little bit, moving the needle a little bit, expending a lot of energy. You're feeling like, you're putting all this effort in and you're not seeing any growth, you're not seeing any results. But there does come a point where I think you can't always do it all on your own. right? Like you
Mhm.
always have to get started, and then there does come a point when if you really want to move forward, you have to have mentorship. You have to have someone guide you. You have to have someone teach you and train you. You know, you can't do it on own. Like I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. I can't say that I am a marketer, but I love marketing. And you know, I've studied a lot of it over the years, and so I understand all the main concepts and things like that, but I'm not a marketer. But this summer, I was well, actually, this will be 2024. So summer of 2023, uh, I wanted to create a new product line. It's just going to be starting to launch, and I knew I couldn't see the forest for the trees.
Mhm.
I was trying to figure this thing out. I mean, I knew how to do it, but I needed perspective. So I spent the summer with 2 to 3 specialists getting the right perspective that I needed to be able to create an effective product and not have to do it twice.
Like it. Okay. Yeah. So I want to push on something. You said you're not a marketer, but you are doing marketing. And I disagree. I think that everybody is a marketer. It's just the question is whether or not you're doing effective marketing. Because marketing is nothing more than controlling the conversation. Everybody's going to be talking
True,
about your product. As soon as the first person sees it, they're going to be talking about it. Marketing has been accomplished from the very first step. And with social media, that's made that even more accessible. You can create an account, post a video of absolutely nothing, and somebody's usually going to see it within the first few minutes. That's just how the algorithm performs. They want new
true.
content to be pushed. So, everybody, even more than ever, you are all marketers. Everyone is. It's just the question is how good are you at it? Or how confident are you at it? You know, I work with clients all the
Mm,
time. They're like, no, I'm just a content creator. Or I just do this. I just create sandwiches. It's like, yeah, bro, but every sandwich that goes out your door is speaking for your business in some capacity. And
mm.
so every new product, you know, at 20 years, I guarantee you have not done just one thing. I've got the same addiction,
No.
always be starting something new. Marketing is tied into it. You're either consciously working on it or you're not.
Mm, mm. True, true. I think I just more meant that I'm not a marketer by profession. It's I love marketing. I do marketing, but I don't own a marketing agency. Let's just put it that way.
That's fine. It's not milk for everybody.
But that's why I'm a publisher because that's what I love doing. Jeff, we're going to take a quick ad break here. Audience, RTA Publishing has lots of great resources for you. Uh, 15 to 17-second ads going to share with you one of the resources that is available to you to help you convert take your content, take your books that convert readers into clients, and then help you to scale your business. Welcome back. Jeff, I would love to hear a bit of your story. How did how did you get into the trenches very early on?
I I got sucked in by I don't know genetics or environment or something, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get out of the gravitation. I tried many times. In fact, I was doing marketing for a decade before I realized I was even doing marketing. It was always no matter what kind of job I did. I mean, I worked for Starbucks for a while, and I found that I was doing more advertising and sales than I was, you know, barista coffee service. I would spend more time out on the floor, and anybody who's ever lived and breathed Starbucks knows that this just doesn't happen. Baristas don't go on the floor to the merchandise and like guide you through the process and walk you through, you know, these are the benefits of this, and you know, if we move this product over here, it's going to have a higher exposure rate and all of these things. And you know, I would get high fives for selling $1,000 espresso machine, but I wouldn't get anything else from it other than the high five. And I can't
Yeah.
pay bills with high fives. So it was a constant back and forth at every job that I worked in, advertising, sales, selling ads in magazines. No matter what I did, I was always working with the entrepreneur. The owner operator was the guy that I would get excited about. Larger organizations, I just wanted the contract. And was meeting with someone many years ago, and she said, you know, what would be your perfect daily life? Like, if you could just set your daily schedule, what would it be? I said, man, I would love to meet with entrepreneurs just on a daily basis, work with them directly in the trenches where they are. Here are their struggles. And it's not that they can't do, you know, advanced marketing strategy, yada, yada. They just chose to become an expert in their product instead of doing marketing. I said, man, I would love, I feel like it's a service to help them through that stuff, because entrepreneurs, we're a special breed of crazy. Like we
Yeah,
learn,
ain't that truth?
right? We put in crazy amounts of hours, not getting paid, in the hopes that it's going to come back to us in this massive product or service or something that helps people. And whenever I'm not in it, I feel an empty space in my heart that I'm not helping entrepreneurs. And so I absolutely adore doing it. And so 5 years ago, a little more than 5 years ago now, I said, you know, I can do this for a living, and I'm going in. So I work specifically with owner operators, the guy who's actually in the trenches doing the work, and he or she works directly with me. I've got a team of specialists, because I practice the philosophy of hire people who know what they're doing and then get the hell out of their way and let them do it. And so they
Yeah.
come in with their angles and their perspective, which makes what we offer even better. You've got somebody who can look at your project from a design standpoint, from a color palette standpoint, somebody else that can look at it from the social media impact, and how do we make this trigger the algorithm to like what you're doing. And it's stepped stoned each way into, and I can't get away from it. And maybe this is love. I'm not entirely sure, but it has, as over the course of nearly the last 2 decades, just constantly like, dude, this is what you want to do. This is what you want to do. Like, the heart speaks. You can listen or you can avoid it, but either way, it wins out eventually. And so I'm doing what I love.
I like it, Jeff. I think it just, it's funny. When I was a kid, all I wanted to do was be a teacher. And by high school, I wanted to be a music teacher. And, I never did it professionally, but I actually volunteered for 7 years at my kids' school teaching music. So I did that. But I also realized in my early 20s that there was something else inside of me. There was an entrepreneur waiting to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I spent 20 years figuring out where that entrepreneurship was finally going to land and come out in its best form, which is me owning a publishing company. But there were things all along the way. It was like it was like my heart was happy when I was an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
When I was helping people, when I was helping the family by making money, when I was moving forward in business. And but then it was also killing me when I didn't move forward in business, when things didn't go as planned, right? But yeah, you are right. We are definitely a unique form of crazy because,
Yep.
well, I describe entrepreneurship like this. It's a bowl of spaghetti. You're in, out, up, down, around, whatever. You don't know where one end is from the other, and you hope that along this crazy ride somewhere you'll actually get to where you want to go.
You know, I agree, and that was part of why I ended up, of how I like that whole mess, and usually gets like amplified in college, because I think it's hilarious that you say that, because I started my college degree as a music performance major, and my mother is a retired elementary music teacher, so a lot of overlap there. I bounced, and no matter how much I bounced, like, I ended up changing off of music, because instead of spending 6 hours a day in a practice room, I was on Excel, because I thought Excel spreadsheets were cool. Like, that's when you know that your brain just doesn't function like everybody else. And it took me a long time to start being receptive about it. But
It
it's,
almost looks like a music staff. Like I could see
yeah,
going from music to an Excel spreadsheet.
quarter note equals sum. Yeah, no, thank you. No, it just doesn't ring the same way. And I did enjoy it, but it didn't have the same kind of love that I have now. I enjoy waking up and getting to work with people in the morning. I have another meeting after this podcast that is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Had one previous to this one with my management team, and this highlights my day. And I have to actually cut myself off at the end of the day. That's the crazy part. And whenever times get hard, when times get really bad, you still enjoy doing it. Um,
Yeah.
which, by the way, that's it. I don't know if this is okay. Tell me if this is not okay. I'm watching live comments, and is it cool if we hit questions? Like, is that all right if we like pull off and take a
Yeah,
scenic stop for a
I'll show
second
the
and do that?
question.
Look at you go. That's fancy.
Oh,
I mean,
StreamYard's good.
it felt like it segued in. So, can we go down this route for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
I love it. Okay. I want to hear what you've got first. I want to hear if you've got thoughts on this question because I think it's a really good question.
So for those who are listening and not watching this, Augustina on LinkedIn, she left a comment. What if you started but you don't see growth and you don't know how to keep up? Like you took the first step, but great, what's next? Here's the thing with entrepreneurship is that you're going to have to pay the cost. Right? And sometimes you have to keep doing things even when it doesn't seem to always be producing results. Now, there are activities we do that we have to get rid of because they're just not good activities. But when you're doing the right activities, you have to trust that as you continue to do those right activities, you're going to see results. And that's the resiliency in that you have to have as an entrepreneur, knowing that you're keeping doing this even though you can't see the results yet.
100%. Taylor Swift was performing to empty rooms before stadiums were filling up, waiting on her to show up.
Yeah.
And I'm in Nashville. This is the area like this. She grew up near here, and so it's 100% true. It takes faith. It takes that confidence. It takes reaching inside and grabbing a hold of something, saying, "Look, I love this too much to not let it go." Which is why I don't work with people that are just like, "Yeah, I just like money." Like, well, then your product's never going to last. You just need to go buy a franchise. Um, it's going to take thousands of posts. This perspective. What I would tell Augustina is that you need to zoom out. You've done
Yeah.
content. You've put in the work that based on the way that you in which you're looking at it, your zoomed in lens says I should start getting results at this point. But you're dealing with you can't fathom the millions of other posts that you're competing with if you're doing social media, for example.
Mhm.
Thousands. It takes thousands to start gaining growth, and each time it's an inch. When I first started doing all of this stuff, I was like, okay, there's going to be like this Hollywood story where all of a sudden something catches and it explodes. Sometimes that happens. Most of the time, it's inches and
Yeah.
persistence. I will never give up. If two people, like Will Smith said this, if you and I get on a treadmill side by side, either of two things are going to happen. I'm going to fall down dead, or you're going to quit first. And it's
Yeah.
it's that vibe that makes it possible to push through. So what I would tell Augustina here is keep going. Look at a longer game. I mean, if you're under 50 years old, you've still got time. You've got a
Yeah.
longer game. Keep going. Keep posting. Keep finding something that you enjoy doing. If you hate getting in front of a camera, don't get in front of a camera.
Yeah.
It's simple. Just keep pushing through. You will win. It is the formula of inevitability.
The other thing, and I'm going to bring up another question because we had another comment come through. Um, Here's the thing. Sometimes with entrepreneurship, you know, like we've got marketing, but marketing sometimes is a long-term game, right? So as an entrepreneur, sometimes you do have to keep doing things and then you have to do other things. I one of the things I did was I learned how to sell. So I learned how to sell
Mhm.
without using social media. Now, I think social media is a valuable tool. Podcasting is a valuable tool. They're all long-term games though. They're not short-term. So you still have to learn how to sell, be bringing money into your business, learn how to work
Yeah.
with your clients, put in systems, but don't forget the marketing. Keep doing it because that's what's going to, that's ultimately what's going to help you take it past just a simple business into actually something that's going to, change your life, change your client's life, change your employee's life. Stephanie left a comment. So let's take a look what she said here. How long do you wait to see if things are working to see those inches before pivoting? I'll let you take that one, Jeff.
Okay. Uh, I think we're not talking about quitting. We're talking about pivoting as in do I make the adjustment? We're assuming that you love what you do to begin with. And I think there's a part of it that's always pivoting. We were talking about this at the beginning. This is a social media thing. You have to adjust, make the adaptation. If you'd waited until just now to start getting on Facebook, you've missed the boat, because Facebook engagement has gone up during the pandemic. It was at its absolute peak. And then other platforms really made way and they started coming in. If you're just now getting in on Facebook now, you're too late. Just like if you open a VCR stand, you're too late. So there's a part of it that you're always pivoting. And that's why I really start with that find your passion. There's I think it's an old Chinese proverb that says a man who enjoys walking will walk much further than a man who's trying to walk somewhere. And so if you love what
Ah,
you do, you're going to keep doing it, and you can pivot doing it. I used to do, I was part of a performance group that said, you know what, it doesn't really matter, because we love what we do. We love who we are. This organization is what we do. If our activity ceased tomorrow, we'd become a professional bowling team. Like, we would always pivot so that way we can stay together. And I would say that that's the answer to this question is you're always pivoting. You don't wait.
yeah.
You take the initiative and say, look, I'm posting on Instagram constantly. Do I need to keep posting on Instagram, or do I need to look at Threads or YouTube Shorts or TikTok or any of the other newer platforms that have been showing up? You're always making small adjustments. Now, if you get to a point where you just feel like you're flailing, you feel like you're getting obsessed with the numbers, you feel like you're not doing it, it might be important for you from an emotional standpoint to take a hard pivot for your own well-being. Like, maybe if you're writing and constantly blogging and nobody's ever catching on to your writing, then maybe it's a good idea to take a step back for a couple days and say, I love writing, but it's really bothering me that no one's consuming it. Maybe it's better to shift gears and take some of your work to a different medium. Maybe you want to switch over to email. Maybe you want to go plug it into TikTok's AI text-to-speech tool. Start taking your work and plugging it into your text-to-speech and start posting short to medium form content on TikTok. So people can just sit there and watch your video and listen to your text. You're still a writer if you
Yeah,
do it that way. But I'd say you
true.
check your heart first before you make a hard pivot. But as far as day-to-day operations, constantly making adjustments, constantly making pivots.
Well, I think, something that's important too is you've got to have, s- um, what's the word? You want to make sure that you're writing in the right way. One of the things that I teach and train on, even just for entrepreneurs, even if you aren't writing a book, is if you're creating content, I use the word create. Okay.
Hmm.
So i- I'll share this with you, Jeff. You can let me know what you think. But the thing is you want your content to create relationship with the reader. You want your content to reveal the real problem. You want your content to answer their questions. You want your content to be targeted to a specific person.
Yeah.
If you're just writing here, there, and your topics are all over the place, and there's no coherence to it, and this week you're writing to moms, and next week you're writing to dads, and the week after you're writing to kids, or creating content, not just writing but creating content. You're not going to get that cohesiveness and ultimately the consistency factor that you want. And then it has to be excellently done. Like, you can't create content and have 50 million spelling mistakes in it. You can't do videos where all you do is go, "Well, like, so, yeah, it's, well, like," you have to improve some things sometimes.
So let me make sure I'm getting it clear. Are you asking about the quantity versus quality? Like, am I nutshelling that okay?
I think it's just more, sometimes there's not a plan to the content.
Hmm.
Like, people are posting content. But, as an entrepreneur, I think your content has to be targeted. Like, you have to know who your target market is. You have to create content that speaks to them, especially if you're using your content to help you build your business, right? So you need to know who your target market is. You need to know, where's their pain, right? Like, you need to be able to
Yeah.
speak to them in a way that they see you as the person who has the answer. Like, if you're just, you know, like popcorn, just putting out content here,
Sure.
there, anywhere without sort of a game plan to it, I think, you're not gonna see the results you want.
Okay, I definitely, yeah, I understand better. Thanks. No, I think that understanding who you're talking to. In fact, with every single new client that I start working with, that's the very first thing that we do. We start shooting out little drips of content just to start getting stuff out there for people. But we start doing heavy research on understanding the target demographics. We're trying to understand target demographics is a little bit more data centric. We just call them avatars because we want to understand the personality of who we're talking to, not 17% of Gen Z does X, Y, and Z. We want to understand what Jacob does, what he feels, what he thinks,
Yeah.
because then you can write to him, you can appeal to him. I don't want to try to solve a problem that you don't think is a problem. So I need to know what you think is a
Sure.
problem to begin with. So yeah, understanding that reader, and again, it goes back to just start posting, just start creating, because then you start finding out through feedback exactly what your audience appreciates, and that is constantly adjusting. It's constantly changing. So writing to specific types of people, I find it useful on my end whenever I create to imagine a specific person. And after I've done the
Yeah, me
research, I
too.
can create that persona because I find it easier to talk to an individual than it is to talk to a room. You use a
For
lot more you and a lot less of they.
Yeah,
So I enjoy that a lot. I find it I find it fun. I really find it fun to have a specific person or specific type of person that I'm talking to instead of the big room. The big room is overwhelming and it's intimidating. It's so much more fun to have an intimate conversation with somebody, and my writing gets better, my creation, my video gets better, my audio gets better. It doesn't matter what channel it is; it just gets better if I feel like I'm speaking. And I'm glad that you sent a profile of who we are creating for here. It helps so much more.
Jeff, oh man, we are just about out of time. We're not going to get to the third segment today. Jeff is working on his book, so I think we'll have you back, and the next time we'll talk about your book. But because I we just don't have enough time left in the episode
I
to
get it.
get into that today. But Jeff, what I would love for you to do is just share a couple of final thoughts with us. And if people have enjoyed this episode, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, easiest ways to follow on socials. We're doing a lot on Instagram at box6marketing. That's the number six. You can also just go to box6marketing.com. That has the general spread of who we are and what we do and how you can track. One of my major objectives is to give away as much free advice as possible. So there's usually videos, comments, blogs. There's all kinds of stuff going out of just little tidbits to help. If somebody does want to help more, we do consultations. We do work directly with clients. And then we've also got a lot more just budget friendly content as well. Because my whole mission is that anybody who goes into a bike shop should be able to buy no matter what their budget is. If they've got $5, if they've got $5,000, there needs to be a product that's available for them. So that's how I do things. But the biggest thing is just get tied into the network, just get tied into our communication because I want to meet. I want to get your DM. I want to get that message and I want to meet you and understand you and know who you are because not all advice is universal. Sometimes it does have to be
Yeah.
specific. So just to become a part of the conversation. Start taking advantage of all of the free stuff. Why not? It's out there. So yeah, that's the best way to do it.
So, what would be one or two final thoughts?
Bill Gates in 1981 said that content is king. It's now a lot more true than it ever was back then. The biggest thing is just start creating. Don't be scared of what's bad. Nobody's going to judge you. They just want to gain value. And even if you have thrown out a thousand pieces of content, you're going to accidentally get something right. So just go, just do. And if you think that you're not worthy, if you think, what am I doing? I don't deserve any of this. What am I thinking? I'm crazy. That imposter syndrome thing. If anybody asks if they're worthy, they're automatically worthy. People who actually are imposters don't ever ask themselves that question. So just do it. I had
True.
it this morning. I promise that all the members of Congress and the greatest celebrities in your life go through the exact same struggle. The difference is that they push forward. So just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeff, thank you so much. It's been such a joy and a pleasure having you on the podcast today. Audience, if you are watching this and you're thinking, okay, where do I go next? I want to encourage you to go back to episode 450, Why Founders Get Stuck. If you are watching on YouTube, you know the routine. I'm never sure where my daughter puts the thumbnail. I haven't figured that one out yet. One day we will have that conversation. I know I say it every episode, but she doesn't live with me anymore. I'm not talking to her as much as I used to. But you will see the thumbnail here on the screen. If you are listening on your podcast app, you're probably going to want to scan back about 20 to 30 episodes. And I guarantee you it will help you, especially with how we ended the episode today. Jeff, thank you so much for being on the show. Audience, wow, thank you so much. Oh, it's all I can just say. Thank you for listening to the podcast, and we will see you on the very next episode. Have a great day, everyone. Bye now.